So we got to talk about what's going on in LA, right? With all the riots that are going on, the destruction, chaos. We see a lot of people out here, attacking cops, police officers, military, National Guards, right? There's a whole bunch of chaos, right? And this dispels the whole notion that, Democrats are the party of peace, right? They're the party of law and order. When in reality, we all know that they're the party of chaos. And I think a lot, and you see what's going on, right? You see a lot of people, burning American flags. You got other people like, waving Mexican flags. And I think a lot of people, especially black people, are starting to open their eyes to see what the left is, Democrats, liberals, what they're really about, right? And I wanted to play some videos of some reactions to TikTok videos of black people reacting to what's going on in LA, but there was a lot of swearing and stuff like that, so it was going to be a lot of work editing. But when I watched those videos, right, I saw a lot of black people talking about what's really going on in LA, and I'll be honest, right? I think the best thing that happened, right, especially during the 4 years during Biden, right, one of the smartest things that a lot of people don't talk about, right, that made a huge impact in the way a lot of people see, illegal immigration in this country, was when Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, right, he put a bunch of illegal immigrants in a bus and he sent them, all of them, to blue cities, right? Whether it was New York City, Chicago, Boston, Massachusetts, right? He sent all these illegal immigrants so they can feel and understand what's going on in Texas with all these illegal immigrants flooding that state. Okay, and the thing with a lot of these liberals, in the beginning used to vouch for illegal immigration and all these liberal policies, is that they don't really understand until they have to go through it themselves, right? You saw with Anna Kasparian of TYT, Young Turks, right? It wasn't until she got, she ran into a bunch of homeless people that, assaulted her and stuff like that, where she finally started to open up and say, all right, what's going on here in California is not working. Something is wrong. And from there, ever since that, she has changed her mind and really started shifting, where she has a mindset where she sounds more like a conservative. And when you got Governor Greg Abbott sending those illegal immigrants through the buses to all these blue cities, a lot of black people started to really understand, these Democrats, these liberals, they don't care about you. They don't care about black people, right? They care about what keeps them in power. Okay, and they know by sending a bunch of legal immigrants, they could probably, steal elections through fake votes, increase their delegates when it comes to elections. Anyway, and they do this not because they care about people, because they care about Mexicans or illegal immigrants. They do it because it helps them. They have a system that helps keep them in power. And as long as they can get a bunch of illegal immigrants, they can manipulate the system, right? We all see that right now. Okay, this is why they're going so crazy, because Trump is out here trying to deport all these illegal immigrants. Okay, and having that and that strategy what Governor Abbott did, that was one of the biggest game changers that helped change the minds of a lot of people. And it's funny because I even have friends, right, that they even, of course, the liberals, they support the left, but once they started seeing a lot of immigrants coming to their town, and their taxes were being raised, then they started saying, all right, they still vote a certain way. However, they're thinking about replacing their mayor, right? Voting that mayor out because they want a new one. This is in Boston, right? And they're finally changing their mind when it comes to this whole legal immigration, because now it's affecting them, right? You got Boston, they out there, raising taxes because they have to, pay for these programs. And it isn't until it starts hurting people's pockets that people start to change their mind when it comes to these policies. And a lot of black people are starting to see that, these people don't care, right? You see a lot of people struggling in their communities, right, in this country. Yet you see money going to all these illegal immigrants, people that aren't citizens of this country. So it makes you think why aren't you taking care of the people here first? If you really care about the people here that are struggling, why aren't you taking care of your own citizens? It's because they don't care. Right? They act like they care about poor people and people struggling. They don't care. They care about what keeps them in power. That's the main goal. And you see where all the money's being shifted, right? When it comes to housing, food, social security aid, all different types of programs going to these legal immigrants that aren't citizens of this country. And it's crazy when you watch these videos, right? You're seeing it, and it's amazing that you see people waving their flags, right? The Mexican flag, and it's just what they're doing to the American flag is okay, if you have such pride in that, why don't you go back to your country? Why don't you do that? Why don't you go back to your country where you have pride? Why are you coming into our country and causing chaos? Right? And that's pissing a lot of people off because like here you're disrespecting America, you're disrespecting the flag, but yet you're taking all our benefits and all our money. Okay? And so that's going to piss a lot of people off. Okay? And I think a lot of people are just starting to open their eyes and like say, yeah, nah, this is not right. What's going on is just not right. And look I tell you this, you know, they all this chaos that's going on, you know, these riots, look, they got the wrong person. You got the wrong person in the office to do this to, because Trump is not playing. Trump is going to make sure he does whatever is necessary to make sure he brings law and order into this country. Okay? Like you probably thought you got away with it when Biden was in office or whatnot, but during here, it's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. So Trump is going to do whatever he needs necessary. And you can see that with Governor Newsom. I think he's rejecting National Guard help, right? He doesn't want their help. Right. And it's so funny because, you know, he's going on these podcasts with Charlie Kirk and he's bringing in, you know, conservatives, you know, as he's trying to make a move, as if he's trying to make a move to the center. Right. For, you know, obviously he's running for he's most likely going to run for election. But he's trying to make this move as if he's center right and he's not on these like progressive issues. But you see the way he acts, like actions speak louder than words. Like everyone knows that when it comes to that, Governor Newsom is a scammer, right? He's a car salesman. Like he cannot be trusted. He's doing it just to make sure he can appease, you know, maybe centrists, so he can probably increase his chances of running in 2028 and running for and winning the presidency. But people already know what he's about. You can see the way he acts. If you're really trying to move it to the center, then you would help Trump and, you know, ICE to do what they need to do in order to get, deport, you know, illegal immigrants. You would do that, but you're not. You're doing everything opposite of what needs to be done. So we already know what Governor Newsom is about. Like he's fake. No one trusts him. Okay, and a lot of these Democrats, you see the way they act. You see the way they're acting when it comes to handling this issue. There's so much chaos, and they're always talking about how they're the party of peace. When they have way more riots, way more cause destruction, way more violence than any other, way more than anything on what's going on the right, but they always revert to January 6th because that's all they got, right? But there's always some type of violence, and they find a way to justify it because racism, all types of nonsense, right? We all know it's garbage. Okay, and we see the way they acted, we see the way they responded when it comes to this, and it's crazy to see this happening. Like all they gotta do is cooperate, but they know they need the way they need California. They need the system to keep operating the way it is because that keeps them in power, all right? But you know what? Trump is not playing. He's going all out. He's gonna do exactly what he needs to be done in order to make sure that he brings law and order and he brings structure and safety to this country because he actually cares about this country as opposed to people on the left. They don't care about this country. They don't really care about this country. You got people out there that want to see United States fall, all right? And they don't care how it happens, or as long as it maintains their power, they don't really care what happens to it. And you can see that. You can see that because what's going on in LA shouldn't be happening. It should be an easy process where you're going in and out, and everyone should be obeying the law. But you got politicians that are inciting this stuff to make sure that this continues, this chaos continues to happen, and it's a sad thing to see. So those are my thoughts. Interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Hit the like button, share it. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. I see you guys. Take care. Have a good one. Later.